turn is it anyway? A podcast all about our gaming group and of course board games. I'm James Davey, your current first player, and I'm joined by other players, Kerley.
Hey guys.
JP.
Howdy.
And today we're going to be banging heads and talking about Mindclash. How is everyone doing today?
Pretty good. Sweltering.
Yeah, we've decided to record on the hottest day of the year.
In my dining room, which is very warm, because we have to close the door.
So if you hear a slight dripping sound, it's the sweat coming off of my head onto the table.
Not the excitement.
Yeah.
It's not often I get my legs out and wear shorts, but yeah, today it's a requirement.
Oh, you're so sexy.
I know. Can't help it, mate, can't help it.
No, we do the usual British thing, aren't we? Of, the weather. Ooh, let's talk about the weather. Because we're so, what's the word? We're not catered for nearly kind of mid-30 degree heat in this country, are
No.
we? Aircon? What's aircon? We have to go and sit in our cars.
Just turn the heating up. Yeah.
We have to sit in our cars.
Yeah, yes. It is nice. The journey over.
Yeah.
I was just like, so cool in this car. I've got to get out of it now.
The irony is, I had an email from the energy company saying, we're going to put your bill up. And I was thinking, what energy? It's all free. It's coming from that big ball in the sky. Bugger off. But there we go.
Yeah, so we might be stripping off as the episode goes on.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Good job it's a podcast.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
No one's ready for that side.
So, into our favourite segment, let's talk about Hex. So, what's everyone been playing recently? Kerley?
So I picked up Spirit Island at the Expo.
Woo!
I've been looking for it for a little while, but I kind of decided as a treat, me and Becky were going to pick that up between us.
Everyone's kind of been jumping on that being, we want to play, we want to play.
Yeah, it's not worked out quite yet, but we got one in, I think, for like September, God knows what. We have to book them in advance around these parts. But yeah, so me and Becky have been playing the hell out of that game. It's absolutely fantastic. We are loving it. It's one of my favourite games to play at two-player, to be honest. In fact, my favourite game to play at two-player, I would say. So I'm interested to get 4 people around the table to play it as well, because that'd be really interesting. You can do 3 as well. But yeah, essentially all it is you are playing a bunch of spirits on an island. And
Hence the name.
See
what they did with that.
And essentially it kind of plays like you're being colonised really by, settlers from, what is it? Who were the big exploration countries? Spain, Portugal,
conquistadors.
And it does. There's an alternate mode I haven't tried yet, where there's literally the different nationalities have different special abilities to try and take you out.
Okay.
But you're essentially trying to fight them all off. So you've got lots of different spirits to pick from. Obviously more with expansions, but I think there's in the base game about 8 or 9. And you've got to try and balance between you all between a few different specializations that they might have. So one's really good at defending against them attacking you, one's really good against sort of taking them out, others are good at causing fear, which gives you positive effects over the game. So you've got to balance it up as the first job, but essentially they get 3 different rounds. They can build, they can raise, and they can explore, and that is just them basically spewing out all over your lovely island. And
like
you've
a virus.
That's it. No, it's exactly like that. And you've got to keep on top of them by stopping them building, by killing them to stop them raising, and you let one get out of hand, and it quickly builds up, and it takes you out basically. But
sounds good.
Yeah, it's and it's also a lovely deck builder as well. It's kind of, I say deck builder because you don't draw the cards, you just get them. Yeah. But you're constantly upgrading the cards in your hand to play, and
yeah, nice.
It's great fun, absolutely great fun. I'd recommend it to anyone. But actually, would I recommend it to anyone? No, because it's quite complicated considering the theming. Everyone says it's complicated. It's not complicated compared to some games that we've played in the past, like Mindclash, for an example. But I think the theming draws in people who are not used to said complication. Yeah. So I think, people, it is, I think Becky...
Crunchy one, isn't it?
Becky was nearly in tears at one point. And it's not, it was just through frustration. She was just like, she knows she's intelligent enough to understand what's going on, but no matter what way she looked at it, she wasn't quite getting it. Yeah. And I think she just got a little bit frustrated with it, but she absolutely loves it now. She's got to grips with it. But you have to really want to do it if you're not into that complication level.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, we're
Look forward to playing it.
There's three of us here that love heavy games, isn't it? Like on the heavy side. So, but
like them all, any game really.
It doesn't really matter, does it?
No.
Game.
Yeah.
Light, medium, heavy, whatever. We will do. I think what intrigued me actually was with the system that I saw, and I haven't played this, so I'm probably talking bollocks. But is there like the cards you play, the like slow and fast card? And then you play before the gits up there.
That was exactly what caught Becky out. So basically, you start the turn, you gain all your income, which you can improve by spreading out all over the board. Essentially, you take your turn, you get new cards, you do all your bits and bobs, then you play your cards. Now, before the enemy gets a turn, the fast cards go off. After the enemy get their turn, the slow cards.
So it's got like an initiative order of when cards work, and
the slow ones are more powerful, I believe.
Generally speaking, yes.
You'd hope
or
so.
cheaper, or something that makes
or have an effect that works in its time
Yeah.
schedule. Yeah.
Exactly, but it's really a matter of, I think the trouble that Becky had is like knowing what the board state would be at the point when the slow moves.
Yeah, well, I guess that's where the challenge comes in, though, isn't it?
Exactly. So, yeah, well, I mean, for an example, there's one character that makes himself go really fast, like all of his stuff goes fast, and he helps make the other person go fast as well. So it's kind of it's comboing together.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, but it is really interesting. That's part of why I love it.
Buying up for it.
Nice, yeah. So, definitely keen. How about you, JP?
Yeah, well,
Played anything other than Burn Cycle?
Burn Cycle, no, it's been a lot of Burn Cycle, but I talked about that last time, so that's off the table. Now, Unfathomable I played, which is my first stab at it. And I know a few of the other guys and girls have talked about that on the podcast, so I won't go into it too much because we just keep talking about the same game. But no, I think from my experience was really good. I played Battlestar Galactica. Lots and lots of times.
You've been there through the ups and the downs of Chris stealing the cards,
Yeah, we've gone through that. I've been accused by Davey of being a Cylon right from 5 minutes in the game and thinking, here we go. But no, I thought actually they've done a great job with it on the reskin. I really like the fact that they divorced the two, well, there wasn't two tracks, but the track that allows you to move your ship to the next location and the track that wipes all the crappy things off the board are now two separate tracks that you have to manage and maintain. I just thought that was a simple but interesting design change, which adds like a lot more flavour to whatever side of the fence you're kind of playing on. Do you want to rush that track or do you want to prevent something else going on? And yeah, it's just interesting, and the fact that everything's now happening on the boat. So if you are, evil, or is it a cultist or the
so
hybrid?
There's a few different types, but the
hybrid.
hybrid is a generic one. The mixture is the cultist.
Oh, yeah, so the hybrids, when they reveal, they're still on the ship, just kind of punching you, getting in the way. And
when you jump from one of them along the navigation, does it reset the other track as well?
No, that's the point. That's what makes it different. But I guess they were locked into BSG thematically. Thematically, they had to do it that way, right? So even if they thought, we don't really want to do it that way, but that wouldn't make sense otherwise.
But you could have said that the ships just followed you, because that kind of happened in BSG. Well, it can. It did certain episodes. I'm not going to get into it. But no, it's really really enjoyed it.
How do you find the new theme?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the Lovecraftian theme anyway. Personally, I'm not super in love with the theme, and it doesn't offend me. So I'm kind of that person that, I enjoy it, and I quite enjoyed Becky's playlist. I think it more because it annoyed you.
Yeah.
So we had 20s jazz and
yes,
she did.
Music,
and some seagulls in the background.
Oh my life!
It was like you're on a boat though, so
it's like they do that sound torture where it's just like screaming in your ear while babies crying and stuff. That's how I feel about that little playlist that she put together.
It's really good. I took the role of the captain. Literally was the captain as the character, and I was obviously.
Did you go sit at the head of the table as well?
I was at the head of the table.
Oh, you were.
I kind of got myself in the role, and I was just kind of ordering people around, and everyone loved it
as well. Yeah.
It was like, oh, shut up. But no, it got to the part of the game where we're trying to suss out what's what, and then you're obviously doing a skill check, and then there's another naughty card or one more naughty card than there should be in the reveal, and then you go, here we go, and we introduced it to being either Kerley or Becky that were the shits. And it ended up being both of you anyway.
Yeah,
so
it was both of us.
Lots of accusations,
Evil
lots of
Kerleys.
you two trying to deflect it onto the other one.
Yeah.
And all of that. It was good fun. And it came down really, really close, didn't it? It was, I think we just had to jump one more time.
Yeah.
And we were about one space away. And then you just pipped it, didn't you?
Yeah,
You and Becky
yeah.
just pipped it in the end.
Did anyone
it was
chime in
really
with
close.
"you're fucking evil" or no?
Yeah, mainly these two.
Yeah, there's a lot of accusations going around.
Yeah.
I think I nearly convinced people that Chris might have been naughty.
Yeah.
I was definitely getting some,
Until
traction with
Tambo
that one.
had spotted his identity card.
Yeah.
And then, because Chris was trying to blame me, being the captain that was evil, that's ordering everything around. And it's like, man, I'm just getting into my role. But yeah, it was a good game. It was good fun.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. I thought what they've done with it is really good.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I liked the fact that there were items as well now.
Yes,
That-
guns up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Feels a little
Spice
bit
it
more
up a bit
asymmetric, doesn't it? Just
Yes.
like every play's a little bit different because of that.
I like my trumpet, which allowed to rescue.
Wow.
I bet you do.
Yeah, my trumpet was the best. I could rescue all the passengers that were next to me.
Is it
Yeah,
up
that
next
was
to your
really
whip and
powerful.
fedora as well?
Absolutely,
Is it?
yeah, my trumpet and my
JP's
whip.
trumpet.
I quite enjoyed having my gun because it meant that when I actually revealed myself as a hybrid, I could jump into an area and just start gunning people down.
And he did.
Yes, I did quite a lot.
Yeah. Get.
Awesome. So, yeah, for me, I've been playing Clank Legacy. So I've been running a little campaign with my video game friends who I've mentioned before. I've got them playing Clank Legacy and Dune Imperium, other things now. But yeah, they're enjoying it. I'm sure everyone's played Clank before, but if you haven't, it's just quite a simplistic deck builder. You go out, spend skill with your cards that you have on it, and you buy movement. It's got a board you have to move through. But if you start moving too fast, you usually start creating Clank, which all goes into a bag. And if your colour gets pulled out of the bag, which is meant to be a dragon, you take damage. And you've got to go to the bottom, get an artifact, and then get back out, which is harder than it sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're greedy.
Yeah. Which has been really good. The only downside I would say with it is the secrets book, where sometimes when stuff's going off, there's just so much reading going on in between.
I remember that.
And yeah, that's the only downside, but it is really good. We are enjoying it. And then another game I've played, I'm going to put 2 in there, I'm going to cheat.
How dare he?
I know.
Just because he's first player,
I know.
he gets to get 2.
I know.
Is Everrain, and that's a beautiful looking game. It's pretty much like a co-op mansions. It's probably is the best way to describe it, but it's a bit more open world. You free roam and you go around, you take your boats about, and you upgrade your boat. Really good game, really enjoyable. Just too much admin, too many dealing with certain cards of the decks. It's a nightmare getting it all out and putting it all away. So I don't know how long that's probably going to stay on my shelf for. But it is really good, and I do enjoy it. It's just when something becomes more kind of like desk work than actual playing a game, then you feel like this is where the app side, I think, with a lot of other games have started bringing that in because it obviously reduces that work you have to do. So
some people like that, they don't know.
They do.
So
Yeah,
it depends
exactly.
what you're
It's
after.
just for me. The only problem I found with it was we were playing in the evenings, and it had a bit of a time limit on it as well. So maybe I need to play it in the day when I've got like a whole day to sit, and it kind of is a whole day game. I followed everyone's recommendations and not played it with more than 2 people. We've only played 2 people. And I'm glad we have, because any more than that, I think it's just you start losing interest in other people's stories, what's going on and everything. Whereas with 2, one reads out the stories and gives the choices, so you're always kind of interacting even on someone else's turn. But
It's quite a narrative-based game, is it?
it's very narrative
Yeah, okay.
based. Yeah, you build like a little story deck, and then when you get to certain checkpoints, all of the stories go out into those decks, and then you pull them back out. And yeah, it's just. Yeah, it's just a bit too much upkeep, I think. Too much admin. But other than that, it is a really good game. It looks beautiful on the table. It's all got real nice kind of Lovecraftian horror aspect artwork, and all the miniatures look really good. Little boats sailing around.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really good.
So jury's out. We'll see. We'll see if you keep it. We'll see if it's carried
Yeah,
on.
exactly. Yeah. But that's that. So moving on. So now we're talking about Mindclash. If you don't know who Mindclash are, we're going to do a little brief introduction of all of their games, and we're going to start with Cerebria. JP.
Yeah, Cerebria is primarily a 2v2 area control game. Thematically, it's set inside someone's brain. It gets weirder than this, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Is it Inside Out? It's always
it's kind of like Inside Out. If you think that the emotions and spirits are all a bit kind of freaky and creature-esque and weird looking kind of thing. So you kind of have these two opposing sides within Cerebria. You've got the bliss and the gloom. I'll let you work out which one's good and bad. But the gloom has a series of spirits that you can play as, like hate and anger and all those kinds of things. And then bliss has ones like love and harmony and all those.
I think we were bliss last time, weren't we?
We were, yeah.
We
kicked gloom.
we were the happy side, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of, it works out like you've got, the board is probably the most colourful board I've ever seen in my life. It's like an assault on the eyes and senses, and it's really hard to explain on a podcast how this thing looks and works, but you've kind of got 5 kind of areas like a pentagram, but there are 10 spaces on this board, and then you've got like these triads of card spaces that kind of wrap all the way around. So essentially you've got 5 actions that you can do on the board if you've got your spirit in the right place, or you've got 5 actions that you can do, generally your spirit can do, if you have unlocked them throughout the course of the game. And there's a starting setup thing where you can pick which of your actions to start with. Some of them you can like double down and make them really good to start with, and then forego an entire action type right from the start. Or you can be like the jack of all trades. So yeah, you can kind of like move around the board. You can invoke emotions onto the board, which act like your little minions, helping to kind of dominate control of the areas. You can quell and basically kill the other emotions from the opposing team to obviously rebalance area control. You can fortify, where you can put those little pentagon plastic pieces on the board, which adds to like defense strength of what your area is. And you can also empower, which means you can kind of get the emotions stronger and stronger to the point where actually they evolve into a higher being or a higher emotion. And each of these emotions on the board have their own little special abilities that allow you to do things and twist the kind of game mechanics around a little bit.
Quite tug of war-esque, isn't it?
Very tug of war.
Area control, tug of war between you and either another team or player.
Yeah, so what's quite interesting about the game is you have, I forget what they're called. The game is full of terminology, right? That's the first, I'd say, barrier that you've got to break through with Cerebria, is that everything's got a fun name. You know, your resources are willpower, essence, and ambitions, and the VP track's called the Wheel of Intentions. And you know, it's things like this. I think your goals or your targets for what you're trying to do each round are aspirations. I think I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But let's just call them aspirations because it fits well with the theme, right? So you, as a team, on one side, like the Bliss team, will have their aspiration, the Gloom team will have theirs, and then there's a common aspiration in the middle that's visible to both teams. And that might be you must control the most kind of sections on the board, or it might be that you need to have the most emotions on the board, or you might have to have the biggest chain of emotions in a row, whatever it might be. So obviously the secret from each other, apart from the common ones, and you're trying to, you know, kind of muscle your way on the board.
But
and
very limited actions from what I remember. It was like, oh, I want to do this, and you need, wasn't there an extra little cube that gave you an extra action, or you could do something else if you spent a certain resource?
There's an ambition token that you share between you.
Yes.
And you've got to talk with the other player going, I really want to use that. And
Yeah.
I was going to use that to do this thing.
Yeah. There's other ways of flipping it back over as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, you can end your turn by getting flipping that back over, or I think collecting willpower from memory.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it's an interesting game. It's not going to be for everyone, actually. And I think I quite enjoyed the game we had as a 2v2. I'd like to play it 1v1 just to see how that works, because you can play it just 1v1.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the 2v2 as well, but I do think it is one of those where it's, if one side was enjoying it and the other wasn't, then maybe it will be better 2-player, because obviously there's going to be less downtime and also more agency of what you're doing. If you're working in a team and you're not working so well together, it's
part
probably
of the
quite
game,
punishing.
It's part of the game that, it's like most 2v2 games, is that you kind of want to talk openly about what you're doing, but if you do, then the other team are listening.
Yeah.
So they're like, Kerley, what we need to do, mate, is you need to go over there, and I need to go over there, and then yeah, sure, if you do that, I'm going to block you.
Yeah.
And you end up in that kind of thing, which is not for everyone. No. And I'm looking at kind of Kerley here because
I want to chime in with this because 2v2 is my least favourite game mode of any. I cannot play, like, for an example, 2v2 game modes that I can think off the top of my head that I really didn't like is Star Wars Rebellion.
Yeah, I think that was
War of the Ring, and Cerebria. That are the three that I've tried. I don't think I've tried many others, and I didn't like any of them.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, before everyone gets up in arms, I absolutely love War of the Ring. I absolutely love Star Wars Rebellions 1v1. I just feel that those are the types of games. The Cerebria maybe doesn't fit into that. I don't know. If 1v1, I don't feel like the addition of 2 extra players adds anything. It just takes away.
Yeah.
Cerebria, from what you're saying, maybe that's an exception. I have played it, but it was a long time ago. And
a couple of years ago.
It didn't click with me yet, I've got to be honest. But yeah, the whole 2v2 I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, I understand that with Rebellion and War of the Ring, because for me that kind of feels...
It's pasted on.
You're just filtering down the same amount of job you do as a one player into 2 and just saying split responsibility.
You do the space stuff and I'll do the land stuff. But what about the really important decision?
Yeah.
Oh, we do those together.
Yeah.
No, I want to do it on my own.
Yeah. Whereas with Cerebria, you still have a bit more agency over each one of your turns, I guess. But
it's part of the game
to
try and synchronize with your partner in a way that doesn't give away what you're trying to do. So I remember Davey, me and you were on the same team, and you were looking at me going, I hope you're going to do what I think you're going to do, because I've just seen an opportunity on the board, and if you do it, and then when that happens, you're like, yes! And then obviously it's not always going to happen. So I think if you had like-minded people who didn't mind that kind of game, I think you're right. I think 2v2 would work well. I am just intrigued to see how it works from a 1v1, because maybe that might lose something in the translation. I don't know. Or it might actually be the same. It's just that you have all the decisions and you have all the choices.
Yeah, it'd be interesting whether it's more enjoyable or less enjoyable.
Or you're having to invest more in the move actions on your spirits because you need to traverse the board a hell of a lot more than you would do in a 2-player.
And you might miss the challenge of trying to work out the puzzle again.
It's unique. There's no game like that.
God, no.
And I really like the theme.
Yeah.
I quite like everything about it made me want to try it. But the 2v2 wasn't for me. But then I will say to everyone, I do like co-op games. So it's not like I can't work with other people or something.
You just said about Spirit Island.
I don't like working with people against other people for the most part.
It's because you play games and you want to be the most efficient you can be, and you can't be. I don't think you can be in Cerebria.
There's a weak link.
There was always a weak link.
You're absolutely correct, but something changes when it comes to a true co-op that means that competitiveness is out the window, and I don't care as much.
It's the game.
It's more about having fun, isn't it?
So Mansions and Spirit Island, and we could go on and
that's
on.
That's different, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
you're against the game then.
Yeah, exactly. That I'm fine with.
Yeah,
makes sense.
But no, it's fun game, interesting. Not going to be for everybody, but if you quite like that quirky theme, and there's a lot in there as a kind of tug of war area control game. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so that's Cerebria. Yeah. Another one they've done is Anachrony, which Kerley's going to have a brief chat about. Yeah,
sorry, I got excited. Go on, Kerley.
No, I will preface this by saying, probably my favourite of all the Mindclash games, although the more recent ones are up there now. But yeah, Anachrony has always been my favourite.
Amazing.
But I'm not going to go into too much detail because it is quite a complicated game, to be fair. And the first play was a little bit of a struggle for my poor old brainness.
I think you still won.
Well, I've got the rule book in front of me.
Yeah, well, that's it. I need it, didn't I? But no, it's the idea of it is you play, for want of a better word, a faction in a futuristic kind of Earth. And we've got futuristic technology, i.e. for a large part of the mechanism, the theming is time travel, for an example. But at its base, I think it's probably just a Euro game with a few extra bells and whistles.
Bit of worker placement.
Yeah, so it's kind of you You've got water, which helps you recruit, and it's basically a resource of the future. But you recruit more workers, you put those workers then to work, surprisingly. You put them into jumpsuits to go to certain spaces, you put them into buildings that you've purchased in previous turns in order to use those buildings. And you're working towards whatever goals are out in front of you. It's fairly standard Euro game in that way, but there's just something really meaty and crunchy about it that I absolutely
There's
love.
a lot to take in. There's a lot of different ways of getting VPs, isn't there? It seems.
Yeah, there is.
And you have to do a bit of everything. You can't focus on one thing, which is where I usually struggle
but there's,
with it.
I'm making it sound relatively simple, I suppose, but like
You've
got like 4 or 5 different types of worker, or 4 different types of workers, and
5 of
they
the
all do
expansion,
different things, and one of them particularly does all of the things. Another one is just for time travel. Another one's just for, we could go on and on.
Yeah.
It's quite a complicated game, but you got to get resources, get water, get power to power your jumpsuits to go to the spaces you want to go
Get
to.
the resources to play for something that you borrowed in the
future.
borrowed from the future. Yeah, then you have to pay it back.
It's
Otherwise, you
like
cause
once a turn
anomalies.
you can borrow from yourself in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't pay it back, then you risk getting. I had to actually write down what they actually were. But it's essentially you get a paradox marker and you get 3 or 4 of those depending on faction.
Yeah.
And then you get an anomaly.
I'm so
And
proud.
when you get an anomaly, essentially it gives you negative effects. Not only in VPs but also in you can build less buildings. And
Yeah,
stuff
you
like
kind
that.
of take one of your slots up, don't you?
Yeah,
in
you
your
don't
buildings.
want too many of them.
No, they're
basically,
annoying.
but
You have to kill your workers to get rid of them.
Yeah,
Send them
it's,
to their death.
sacrificing people.
yeah.
Thank you for your service. Now you have disappeared into the
Bye.
time and space.
And then and it's all about one of those games that's all about timing as well. You got to time when you want to leave your leaving. I forget what they call it when you leave now. That
When you leave.
when
Oh,
you get-
evacuation.
Evacuation.
yeah.
Is the world like ending? Is that what's going to be?
Yeah.
Is it?
So that's what it is. So essentially, you want to leave it as late as you can because you've got certain goals you've got to complete before you actually go. But then you don't want to be. You get extra VPs for leaving first and second, and then if you
want to be the
leave
last
too
one.
late,
Yeah.
then yeah,
Penalised for it.
you
don't
get
you?
penalised for it. So it's all about timing that end as well. But I find it such a crunchy game, and although I was reluctant to try the expansions because it was already quite a complicated game, they actually add to it.
Yeah.
Like, for example, they give you more to do on your board, they give you additional workers, they give you more things to do on the other board, they've given you a new faction.
But let's clarify, because there were 5 expansions for this game.
exactly.
So you're talking about Fractures of Time.
So
Fractures of
I'm
Time,
going
yeah,
to
the
take
one
your
we've-
word for that, my friend.
Yeah, the one we've played the most. And for me, it doesn't actually add any time onto the game gameplay wise. It just gives us more to do. As
You
such.
get less
more
rounds in the
options,
game,
You get-
actually.
yeah,
but
that's probably because you're doing more per
rounds
round.
last longer because you get more actions out of it.
Yeah, so I think that's balanced that off nicely, and I
But just-
actually prefer it.
Yeah, just to kind of explain, like going back to the core, like one of the most interesting decisions with that game is the fact that you kind of have 2 worker placement areas that you would send your workers to. So as Kerley was saying, you're powering up your exosuits, which takes these like nuclear cores that you've got to find, and they're not easy to find if they're really going to work at getting them. And then you've got to decide how many exosuits do I want to power up. And then it's like, okay, you have to put a worker in an exosuit to be able to send them to a location. And then you're kind of working in the head, right, so I need to go locations A, B, and C to get all of this stuff. So that next round, I can then power up 4 exosuits to get this thing. Or I need to build these buildings that actually I don't need to send my guys out in exosuits because I can do all my actions in my own home territory area. And
then it gets to the round, and you forget that you need to pay a
Yeah.
resource
And
for
you're
the
like,
future, and you go,
"Oh,
no!
And it's the crunchiness of that decision and forward planning, which is so Mindclash, right? So Mindclash that's their DNA all
It's
over.
very layered. It's layered complexity,
Christ.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just one singular layer of like you're doing this for this. This is what you want to do. It's
so tiered.
There's this with this and this and this, and if you don't do this, then you're gonna get penalised over here.
But that's
So
why I
you have
love
to
it.
think, like 3 turns ahead, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
You do.
At least.
Yeah.
And then the satisfaction you get when you've built these buildings in your kind of home area, of which you've got 12 slots for, and then suddenly you're not having to go out using your exosuits anymore because once that asteroid or meteor or whatever the hell that is that comes and hits the Earth and then initiates the whole evacuation process, where suddenly 2 of your exosuit bays are gone. The worker placement spots on the main board are now starting to disappear, although you get little bonuses at the end. everything starts tightening up, doesn't it? And so you're really relying upon your engine essentially that you've built, which is what I love about it, because every game is different. Like the engine you build of the buildings that are available. Am I going down the water route? Am I going down time travel route and getting lots of points?
Super buildings, or
super projects, and all of that. And I remember a game you played, Kerley, and never seen anyone get as many super projects ever.
Like 5 or something.
Well, I decided early game, like I can't remember what triggered it, whether it was the faction ability or something like that.
It was a technology.
I think
and it was just a double whammy where I got like a multiplier and VPs for one way, and I got another research to another way.
And you were able to also get a super project off of your board as well, weren't
that's
you?
It. So it was just kind of like,
filthy.
right, okay, that's what I'm doing this game now. And so I just went hard into it, and it really
Super
paid
King
off.
Kerley, that game.
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
it.
Yeah.
But no, the Fractures of Time, though, going back to that, I just wanted to kind of loop back on the other point.
You're going back in time, are you?
Yeah, we're going back in time!
Hey.
It's Anachrony. Fractures of Time, the reason why I think that is probably my favourite out of all the modules that I have played, and there's a caveat that I've not played them all. We haven't played them all yet, guys.
I know.
But the Fractures of Time, what makes it brilliant is the blinking mechanism and the fracture board that you get, which essentially means you don't need to power up as many exosuits as you used to, because you can blink them, like teleport them from one space to another space already out there on the board. And that alone is such an interesting decision, but it comes as a risk of doing it, because though you've got this fracture board that's like bolted onto your main board, and there's a risk kind of reward of doing it. So if you're kind of because you spend flux, don't you, as another resource to do it, and if you've got so many spaces available in your fracture board, you roll a die, and if it's I can't remember if it's more or less, but either way you start taking. There's another word. It's not anomalies. It's
not a paradox.
Not paradox. It's something else that glitches. There we go.
Glitches.
There's a glitch that goes onto your main board, which might be an exosuit bay, or it might be something. It just gets in the way. It starts getting in the way.
Yeah, I remember when we were playing, I had a glitch literally go on to the next action I was about to do. Yeah. And I've never had it happen before, and I was just like, that's kind of screwed me. I shouldn't have done that.
But then that's what's fun about it.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
you can not only can you utilise this new resource, but also you can gear up around reducing the chance it's going to impact you if you do use it, but you've got to put time and resources and effort into doing that. And it's like, do you go out of that way to reduce the negative, or do you just go for it and hope for the best?
Yeah,
Just
which then you then have to change the whole game plan towards anyway.
Exactly.
But it also adds the technology cards, which we referenced earlier, which I quite like actually. It gives you another little avenue of bonuses that you can invest in to really double down on your strategy.
Yep. I think for me, it literally the game goes from like a 6 to a 9 in my eyes. From
6? How
Yeah.
dare you?
I mean,
How
I
dare you?
I would say an 8 to a 9.
Yeah,
it would be closer for me, but we've all got different preferences.
Yeah.
But I mean, all of that, while it's all asymmetric and for me quite well balanced between those different factions that you've got,
We played
it's
the
just about
B-side,
learning the different ones and what's most effective for them. But yeah, I mean, we were going through it earlier on, but there's 4 base factions: Progress, Harmony, Dominance, and Salvation. And then Unity is one of the ones that you add on with an expansion, and they all feel like you've got a chance with them, which I do think that is the downfall of a lot of asymmetric games a lot of the time.
Yeah,
this one definitely doesn't.
No, it doesn't. I never, when someone gets a faction, do I think, they're gonna win the game now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not even that though, is it? It's that you've got the 4/5 factions, and then you've got the 3 leaders per
that
faction,
go with it.
as well. So there's a lot of choice. Like I always dread anybody's first game of Anachrony when you've never played, just because of the sheer amount of choices you have to make before you even play the damn game.
Yeah.
You'd be like, I have no idea.
That was one thing for me. Was I think why I didn't enjoy it, which is why I said a 6 beforehand, was it was very punishing to new players playing the game. A lot of actions, and you can, if you mess up, it can impact you for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
With the base version.
Yeah.
With the next one, because you get that pullback, you get another action. I think it's a little bit more forgiving. Even though there's more actions, probably more choice, probably more complex. But I think if you make one mistake on it, you have a chance.
Don't have to wait around to correct it.
You have a chance.
I will say that I suffer from this worse than you. I'm the worst, right? but I do think sometimes we need to write off the first Alert game as a learning game. and I'm the worst for this. I just go absolutely. I'm like, right, I've got to nail this game straight off the bat. And it's like I've tried recently to kind of reduce the pressure on myself. Gone, it doesn't matter if you win, just flip it.
Yeah.
Learn the game, enjoy it as best you can, and then. But yeah, I do think a lot of that's to do with. I should have done something else, and now I'm screwed, and you just end up winding yourself up with it.
Yeah, definitely. But that's just my own personal feeling. It is the core game is quite punishing for a game. If we got it to the table more, and I have enjoyed it more and more and more anyway. So maybe next time if we play it without that expansion, I'll be like, I actually really enjoy it anyway because.
You
making
kind of know
more
what you're
optimal.
doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to play a game without an expansion with JP in it?
We'll just play with a different expansion anyway. Yeah,
but love the game. It's up there. I think I'd listed it as pretty much one of my favourites, and it still is there. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I do apologise about lying about the brief bit.
It's never gonna happen.
No, it's not. Of course, it's not. Next one, Perseverance.
Yeah,
which is 80s dinos. I was going to do an intro, but seeing as it's JP just knows so much more, we'll put it over to JP.
I mean, I've talked about it on the podcast. We probably don't need to labour it too much on this episode, but just to kind of round off the Mindclash Games vibe. 1980s dinosaur kind of vibe theme, where you all passengers on a luxury ocean liner that's gone into a storm and crash landed on this mysterious island which is overrun by dinos, and essentially you're settling on this beach, and you call the town Perseverance. That's essentially why it is called Perseverance, and obviously because dinos keep killing everybody and you must persevere. But mechanically it's a dice drafting worker placement game, where half the board is essentially the kind of slots where you put your dice that you take from a communal pool, and which you can add your own coloured dice to that pool as well. And in the top half of it is, it changes depending on the episode. So that's the first thing. It's an episodic Euro game, which is kind of a weird thing to kind of talk about. I've never really seen an episodic Euro game before. Well, that's with a campaign.
Yeah, that's more of a
campaign. I guess so.
I mean, what's the difference between campaign and episode? But I get what you mean.
It
they're
standalone, but they can be strung together.
I guess the way it feels different is because it's two completely different games that you're playing as well.
Yeah, it's not like it's the same game but with a slightly different rule. Yeah, they are different. They feel different.
Yeah. There are some similarities. Yeah, enough different to be a different game.
50-60% of the games are the same elements, and then the 40% I would say is the different vibes of the episode. So you kind of got episode 1, which is kind of tower defense style, where the dinosaurs are literally just coming in and trying to murder you. Yeah. And every time you put one of your dice onto a spot, you're seeding dinosaurs into that kind of track, because the board's broken down into 4 sections. You got sustenance, military, expansion, and protection. And so you're kind of managing all of that stuff there. And typical Euro style, get resources, spend resources, do things. And what's quite unique about it for me is that it's part worker placement, part area control, because you're kind of wanting to get your coloured dice, your kind of pieces in a certain area to dominate that, ready for the assembly. And the assembly is like a kind of end round scoring phase.
Yeah, it's like voting of the council to be elected as the
new leader of Perseverance. Kind of stuff, so. But it's interesting because you're going, I really want to go there, but that's not the action I want to do. I want to do that action over on the other side. What's going to help me the most? And that's kind of, for me, where the interesting puzzle is. So, episode 1 is all about that. You're fighting dinosaurs, you're chucking your soldiers out there, eliminating the dinosaurs, and away you go. And episode 2 just kind of flips it up on complexity. Definitely flips it up on complexity.
Yes. It's more engine building, isn't it? There's a lot more...
It's the fact that you've got 30 perks on your character to unlock.
That made me smile when I saw that.
See, when I looked down at that, I just went...
It's typical Mindclash games. Like, you've got not 30 decisions, but, there are 30 things that you can unlock on your character, and like, what do you start with? Like,
Yeah.
when you first go, you just don't even think about
Found
it.
quite a cool thing with that where there's a lot of one-off ones,
Yeah.
and there's some of the captains or there was an ability. We had a building out in one of the places
Yes.
that let you move one of your own cubes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I found that quite nice because all the ones that I used as a one-off perk were
Yeah.
obviously useless to me.
Yeah.
So I'll then move them off that and move them on to something that was useful. I did quite enjoy that little
But
aspect.
Episode 2 is mainly around exploration, so it kind of takes the theme of episode 1 of just defending, because you've just literally landed on this beach and being assaulted by dinos, to now we've established a wall, we're safe, and now we're going off exploring the
Get
island.
to the temple.
And we see a temple on the horizon. What the hell is that? Oh, there's people who've been on this island before. And essentially you're kind of exploring, flipping the tiles, attacking dinos, and it's just, yeah, it feels so different. And as you say, Davey, you unlock more kind of spaces when you build outposts on those tiles, which just gives some awesome abilities. And like, yeah, but then if you use them, you're kind of potentially breaching certain areas of the board, which might limit other people. And yeah, just really, really fun. I love it. I think it also has a Chronicle Mode attached to it, because there will be an episode 3 and 4. They are doing it. It's coming. And the Chronicle
Was that
Mode...
part of the same bundle or no?
No, it's another Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Of course it is. And,
Well, it's quite a big one initially, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite chunky, but it'll probably be out in a year or two. But the idea of the Chronicle Mode is it's a set of rules that strings all the episodes together. But at the minute you can only play 1 and 2, but you do 2 games of 1, 2 games of 2, and it's kind of like a mini campaign, but without it being like 17 games long and taking forever. It's just 4 games.
Yeah.
But you might not win the first game, doesn't matter. You're winning abilities and perks and things to help you in the next game, and shaping your kind of strategies as you go. So interesting to see how that goes.
They could start tying it in with Anachrony. We could go back and get a dinosaur, couldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, going to borrow a dinosaur from the future.
Use it as a resource. Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it lots, and looking forward to that series of games that are coming up.
Nice.
After the holes.
And last but not least, Trickerion. So,
Their
Trickerion's
first one, wasn't
quickly.
it? Their first game they released.
Their first, yeah. I just meant in my list, but yeah.
Oh no, Mindclash Games they came out with Trickerion first.
Yeah, which is one I'd been looking at for a long time, and I just never made the dive to buy it, but JP luckily did. So we've played it recently. It's a game about an aspiring magician. You want to create tricks and go out and perform them. You do that. So first of all, everyone picks their actions from a deck of cards they start with. You all pick it at the same time, and then you flip it over, and then you can see what everyone's done. There's limited spaces where you're going, so it's got some worker placement where you're putting out your assistants and some other different types of workers which have different effects. And you put them out, and depending on the value of their actions that they have, gives you certain bonuses and effects when you're on that space. From what I remember, there's the theatre where you go and perform your tricks. There's the downtown, then there's the market, and then there's the dark alley, and they've all got different effects, which are quite cool. But lots of tight decisions to be made. People are always doing what you want to do, and learning the tricks requires you to have to go get the resources to put them on the trick. You've learnt the trick, you then have to go and perform it and schedule when you're going to perform the trick. And there's certain bonuses from obviously getting there early, which means you can perform the tricks in a certain way with a benefit. It's real tight worker placement game. A lot of thought goes into it. There's not so much engine building with it. There's nothing really, because that's quite different to any of their other.
Really. Yeah.
It leans more heavily into the what we were talking about as far as like having to think 3 turns ahead.
Yeah,
planning
leans
is everything.
Planning
Yes.
is what this game is all about. Less engine, more planning what you're doing.
Yeah, and then the tricks.
Because you could argue like gathering the resources, because you don't spend them, you only accumulate, and that's kind of an engine.
Yeah, and then when whatever tricks you get, then also give you
so there's a lot
resources
of
back.
small
So
elements of it, but it's
small
more about
elements.
gathering resources to then be able to gain bonuses, buy at the market, make sure you've got money, and then actually perform, getting you ready to perform said trick.
Money.
And then there's a big caveat in that, where in certain rounds there's like 4 different bonuses on this little wheel of fortune or whatever it's called.
in the Dark Alley, yeah.
In the Dark Alley.
Prophecies.
That's the one. And depending on what's in that prophecy is kind of what benefits you're getting when you're going around doing
Ignore
things.
them at your peril.
Ignore them at our peril, which is exactly what we did.
Well,
JP was playing the prophecy master over there.
Make sure you sit next to the prophecy bit of the board. More like.
Yeah, the bottom right is where you want to sit. Then you got a full
Yeah.
view of prophecies.
Yeah.
You know exactly what's coming up.
It's a good job we put the newest players near that and the one who knew it the best.
But yeah, so JP played them like a fiddle and basically was reading off these prophecies left, right, and centre.
Probably more luck than judgment.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be completely honest with myself. But, you know, once I realised that everything is strategically aligned for myself, I was like, oh, nice.
Lovely.
So, yeah.
It is great, though, isn't it?
It's right up there for me.
Yeah, it was really good. And you can't unlock tricks until you go to a certain point in fame.
That I like.
And I really like
love
that.
that.
Yeah. And then they also have a little catch-up mechanic with the billboards, whether who's first and last as well. So there's a good balancing. If someone starts rushing off ahead, then other people will catch up. Yeah. So really enjoyed it. I love the theme of it. It's what drew me to it in the first place. But it's really cool.
It's just a great game.
Yeah.
I knew it would be good. I knew it would be good. I watched the videos and I got it with my Perseverance play, so that's why it's only recently kind of hit our table. But when we sat down and played it, I played it solo just to learn the game because I heard it's a bit of a bitch to learn and teach, and there's
there's a lot of little
intricacies of how the chain of things work,
and if you miss those,
you're knackered.
Yeah. So I do understand that. It took me a while to understand how the theatre properly worked.
Yeah.
But once it clicks, it clicks.
Yeah.
And you can suddenly start understanding it. And there's a lot of cool little combo things you can do with other people's tricks, not just yours, or other people performing your tricks. So there is a lot of depth to it as well.
I will say it's one of the games lately that I've lost. Not super badly, but I lost convincingly. You beat us. I think me and Davey were quite close. And I still thoroughly enjoyed it, which is a hallmark of a great game.
Yeah.
And I feel the same about the Perseverance once I got into it, and a few other games I played lately. It's real a mark of a good game for me. If you end up losing and you end up getting frustrated, you're not going to win every time. Therefore, it's not going to be the game for you, I think. So, mark of a good game for me. Trickerion. Definitely. Recommend it.
People might have been put off by it because it is kind of notorious. It's supposed to be a notoriously heavy game, and having played it, and we're probably biased because we play heavy games and we're not that kind of afraid of them or to try them out. But I think, after me playing it solo, which again the solo mode and it's brilliant, simple, and you can easily just get that to the table and you can learn by messing up. Right, you can just go and just get that life cycle of how the tricks work. Get that right in your head. Once you've got that, you're good.
Yeah,
the rest of you know where you need to go to get stuff, and you know how you should plan. And then the frustration comes in when you do the action selection reveal, and everyone else goes, "No, I wanted to go to the market. No, you're going to go to the market before me." And
the actual action side of it's quite simple, really.
Yeah, it's simple. It's so
you
good.
Put a worker placement out, and if you have the actions to be able to do it, you go and do it. You know. So that's it's, the heart of it is obviously that trick order and getting those bits.
But it's not only that; it's making sure your tricks have similar components, so you don't have to go out of your way to get all different components.
Oh, I love the little menus.
So
that's a really good.
Yeah, that's a good touch.
Yeah,
that's what I say. If your head's not in that trick menu, then you're not playing it right.
Yeah.
If you're not constantly just thumbing through, going right, I need a rope. Where's the
this combos with this. And then I can do this. But that trick's not on the board.
Exactly. I had an amazing plan, and then Davey had my trick. I was like, for God's sake! I was looking for something that fitted and had all the similar components and everything else. I finally found it, and then he had it. I was like, you prick!
I love going to the streets and doing my tricks. What can I say?
Completely recommend it. It's well up there.
Yes. Yeah. So. That's all of the games which are out at the moment. There's a couple of ones coming out which we'll talk about in a bit, but ranking order. So which ones do you feel like are your favourite? So let's do favourite to least favourite. So I can start if you want.
Go on.
My favourite's going to be Trickerion. I've only played it once, but it's up there. My next is Anachrony. Then it's going to be Perseverance Episode 2. Then Cerebria. And then Perseverance Episode 1.
So you're ranking the episodes differently. Okay.
Well, to me, they're different of enough game.
Yeah, fair enough.
That it completely changes the dynamic and the mix for me.
I don't think I can answer this one very well.
It's fine.
I'm going to go ahead and just through longevity, I'm going to put Anachrony at the top.
Yeah.
Now, there's lots of different expansions I haven't played yet, but for the length of time... Now, the reason why I say I can't really say yet is because I love Trickerion, so I'm with you on that one, but I haven't played it enough to rank it number one yet, because Anachrony really is a top 3 or 4 game for me overall. Yeah. And Perseverance, despite the first half of the first game I played, it nearly making me want my brain to fall out of my ear.
The table nearly went out the window, didn't it?
It really did. But after I got over that little hump with the complexity, I've started to really, really enjoy it. So I'm really looking forward to the Chronicle Mode we're doing. So I think, again, that's got potential. But yeah, the only one that I would say is definitely bottom for me is Cerebria.
Yeah.
So that's not because it's a bad game, it's just because the way it plays is not the way...
Yeah, I'm not saying that any of these are bad games, it's just
to be
your enjoyment order,
it's personal preference.
To be at the bottom of a a 4 game ranking by Mindclash Games is still probably some of the best games ever out there. So let's just make that clear. But I agree exactly what you said, Kerley. I mean, the last game of Trickerion has been one of my favourite gaming experience. It helped that I won, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I just bloody loved that. I had such a good time.
I think all of us had a really good time at the table as well.
Yeah.
And Rhiannon was playing as well, and it was just...
I can see it knocking Anachrony off. I can see it.
I can see it.
But for the same reasons why you said it, the fact that we played Anachrony a hell of a lot more, and we still love it.
And we haven't played half the expansions as well, so it's like, who knows whether that'll go okay. Well,
I think Anachrony, Trickerion, Perseverance... I'm not going to say episode 1 and 2. They're both lumped in for me, and then Cerebria at the bottom. But again, will I play any of them? Yes.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah, definitely.
Bring them on.
So, from all these games, is there a telltale sign of what a Mindclash game is? What kind of mechanics would you be able to link to them, or do you think
the
planning side of it?
All to do with the planning. That's Mindclash for me. I mean, we've got dice drafting, we've got deck building, we've got worker placement, but it's really all about that planning. And Trickerion being the first one makes complete sense. Yeah. Because that is the one that is deepest on the planning. But you look at all of them, you have to think about what you're doing 2 or 3 turns ahead. And if you don't, all right, you still have fun, but you're probably not going to win.
You're not going to be
There's
efficient.
a set sequence of you having to do things, and if you miss out on some of those parts, it can completely mess up your strategy.
Yeah. It's hard for me to answer that, though. I think icons. Iconography.
Well, there's sometimes the artwork's a link for it, isn't it?
Yeah, like I think even though thematically these games are wildly different, like you've got Inside Out, Emotions to dinosaurs to time traveling, futuristic sci-fi, and magicians in steampunk, Victorian era. You couldn't get kind of wildly different, but I can tell they're all Mindclash. I can tell by looking at them, and they have different artists for the visuals as well. But I can tell that it's the Mindclash games.
For me, it's their mechanics always have they have a layered depth to them, and they're always really tight and very well polished. Yeah, they do have they're balancing. I know I complained about Perseverance in the previous episode, but all their games are usually really well balanced. Yeah, as we were saying with the factions. Yeah, like usually you'll be able to pick one, and you'll have a different game, but you won't be like, oh, that ability, was
was a lot weaker than this one. Yeah. It's a ruddy good time.
It's a ruddy good time. Yeah, we are Mindclash fans.
Yeah, big time.
No headbanging from us. Yeah, so the games that we've got coming out. Voidfall and Septima. You've played Septima?
Yeah, I was fortunate to play a prototype copy of Septima, which I talked about on a previous episode that I cannot remember which one it was. I think it was episode 7, but don't quote me on that. So you want to hear
there? That's all I know.
Yeah, if you want to hear about that, then obviously go and check that out. But all you need to know is which is. That's it.
I'm looking forward to it.
yeah. Which is it is the lightest of all of the Mindclashes that I've played, but it is not light. Yeah. So let's be clear.
I'm looking forward.
To interesting. Yeah.
It's medium. It's a medium weight game. Yeah. But I still had a ton of fun with it. and again, it's modular, so you can kind of, do you want it a bit lighter? Well, take that board off. Want it a bit heavier? Put that in and throw that module in.
That's
again,
something they like doing as well, isn't
they
it?
love
it's
modules.
modular expansions, which is a good idea with a lot of things, because if you like one bit of an expansion but don't like the rest of it, it means you can just add that bit. Yeah. Just play with that section.
But in preparation for this Voidfall, I thought, I can watch a video on it again, because it's been a while since I backed it, and I've not heard much apart from the monthly updates. And then just watching a video again, I go, oh, yeah, this is great. This looks really good. But yeah, for those that don't know what the hell I'm talking about, Voidfall is Mindclash Games is kind of foray into 4X. So think Twilight Imperium, think Eclipse, think insert any other 4X game in here.
I feel like Eclipse is the closest similarity from looking at it. In my mind,
because Eclipse is the most Eurofied 4X that I know.
That's it.
You're getting me excited, to be honest. I don't know anything about Voidfall, but Eclipse, I want to say, is probably number one for me.
For your 4Xs,
But I mean, in general, I think it's pretty much number one.
But the difference with this one is it's completely fully Eurofied, and what I mean by that is like even the combat is fully deterministic. Like there's no dice rolling of combat. You know going in you're going to win or not. And so that game is all about the threat of war, rather than the war. So it's kind of like, you've just unlocked that technology, haven't you? If you come over here, you're definitely going to take this plan. I need to do that.
I did see that they've got two different boards though. So if people didn't like the war side of it, they've got another layout or board, which means it's a lot more peaceful.
Yes,
so you don't have
You've got
to do
different
the war.
modular tile layouts for different scenarios. So if you don't like that, I'm going to cutthroat.
It probably gives you more resources or something, which means you don't have to fight.
There's also it's competitive. You can play it co-op.
Yep.
The whole thing about the reason why it's called Voidfall is that there's a corruption in the galaxy called the Voidborn, and they're like the horrible alien kind of race that's invading and corrupting the systems that you need to eradicate. So even in a competitive game, you have that presence there. So it's not always I fight you, you fight me, and I fight you. It's we need to kind of cleanse the galaxy with this corruption. But also, you might go, I might want that cheeky planet.
Is this like, it's reminded me of Game of Thrones with the Dragon expansion. Is that kind of the level of... I'm not saying the way it plays, I'm talking about that overriding enemy that you kind of have to...
No, I wouldn't say it's as dramatic as that. I think they're more kind of... maybe co-op. Maybe co-op is. Maybe co-op's got a bit more. There's a big bad that you have to... And I've watched a co-op playthrough, which I thought was quite interesting. It did play completely different. But it's more, I think...
It's nice they've added that in as well.
It gives you options, I think, in a competitive mode, which I always like. I like it in Eclipse, that you've got a neutral player that you can go and smack first. To build yourself up and get better and grow. And the Ancients, And I think that's a similar kind of thing. They're there, you can... they're there to get in your way a little bit.
They're not an overriding evil presence trying to...
Well, in the co-op, I think they would be.
The co-op, they are.
Yeah.
The co-op, you've got to really work together to sort that out. But it's, hand management. You've got these focus cards. You have 3 actions on each card. You do 2 of the actions as you play. And, just really interesting. Really... Mindclash does 4X. I'm in.
Yeah. So that's something to look forward to. So that's coming to the end of our main segment. That is Mindclash Games, one of our favourite developers. It's been a pleasure to talk about them, pleasure to play them. Moving over to one of our questions from one of our listeners, Rick Howard. Thank you for this. Why do I buy board games and not play them? Not me personally.
Sounds like a rhetorical question.
I don't know, Davey. Why do you buy games and not play them?
But I mean, we all do it, don't we? We all get...
I love this question. It's made me laugh.
It's the pile of shame, isn't it, that usually gets quoted. But for me personally, I think I'll buy it on a whim, a spontaneous whim. I'll see something that looks cool, looks pretty, looks really good, and then I've got the money to buy it now. I want to buy something, I'll buy it, and then either won't have time to play it, or no one else will want to play it because it's not their thing. So that's the probably reasons I'll never end up playing my games.
I think for me, there's a hobby within this hobby, which is collecting, right? And
Secret hoarders.
No, but it's real, right? I just had this really weird conversation with myself about Marvel Champions for this exact reason, right? So Marvel Champions, if people don't know, is a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games, and they release packs out the wazoo all the time. And it's, starts off, just buy a 40 quid starter pack. It's got 5 heroes, off you go. Price is great, brilliant. Fast forward 3 years later, and you've about 600, 700 quid in debt, because you've been buying every expansion hero pack they've ever released. And it's this thing of, am I collecting this game or am I playing this game?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same kind of principle with board games for me, is that I see myself doing it on certain publishers. Mindclash, we just talked about them. Like, Mindclash have released a new one. Ooh, I'm interested.
I'm having that.
Chip Theory have done, ooh, I'm interested. And it's like, again, am I collecting these? We do play them, and that's the difference. But I can totally see why people do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I buy it. The endorphins you get from buying the game, from punching it out, not Kerley, but punching it out and reading it and learning it, and it's the new puzzle, and it's getting my head around. This is brilliant. It's the opportunity of, this is going to be so good when we get it to the table, and then it doesn't sometimes, and it's addictive.
No,
I think
I can understand that point of view as well. Yeah,
it's addictive to collect. It's an addictive to get new things.
Yeah,
and sometimes people just like doing that.
Yeah.
I don't suffer from that too badly, I don't think, although I can certainly understand the want. Mine is more about scheduling, really. It's that fine balance between, you want to buy the shiny new game that you really fancy, and probably everyone fancies as well, but then you want to keep up to date with all the games that you really like that you've played previously, and you don't want it to be a year or two before you played it last, and then, okay, now I've forgotten all the rules, now I need to watch another video, and then I'll do another learning game. So it's a balance of playing old games, playing new games, and just probably getting that balance a little bit wrong sometimes. I think
time.
Yeah, it's just
Father time.
Well, this is it, and especially I'm not too bad. I've got a fair amount of time, but most people don't in the gaming group, right? So we have to book in games sort of, unless it's going to be a relatively low play count. You're talking a month or two in advance, So it's just one of those things. Scheduling and also playing all of your old games that you still bloody love and keep want to play. So
we don't have a regular games night like other groups do we?
No.
Like a lot of groups will have every Thursday for every week until the end of time is when everybody will meet up and play a load of stuff, and it's just, for us, it wouldn't work.
Ours is in an event thing that
It's
you
an event.
a couple of months in advance, and you go, I'll sign up for that one.
Well,
I'll
we're
sign
booked up
for that
until
one.
September,
Yeah,
least,
we
aren't
are.
we?
Yeah.
And to be fair, we normally play more than once a week.
We do, yeah.
And you add these
that's true.
podcasts in, and it's
Yeah. When did we fit it all in, guys?
I can't remember what Gemma looks like.
Yeah.
So thanks for that, Rick.
Yeah, cheers, Rick.
Let us know why you buy games and don't play them. And if anyone else wants to answer that question, then comment and message us. So, moving over to the penultimate turn, what we've got coming up. And what are we doing at the moment, maybe? So, for me, I'm going to talk about something non-board game related.
Oh, how dare
briefly.
you.
I know,
Dun, dun,
briefly.
dun.
So
I've been
I
watching,
was as well.
been watching a lot of The Boys. I've had to rewatch it all again just because of how good season 3 was.
Love the boys.
Just how good it was. I just...
Are there spoilers ahead, I will say.
Sorry? No, I'm not gonna mention it. I'm not gonna say any spoilers, but I just thought it's an ingenious bit of TV. Okay, it's overly graphic sometimes, and it's very, very. It's definitely got the 18 plus, age rating.
Yeah,
deserves it. But I think it's quite clever what they've done with some of the bits. Some of it's quite political in aspects as well, and what's happened over in America. You can see certain relevance. Mm-hmm. But I just thought it was quality, and I just wanted to mention it. And,
It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
and it's all about the superhero, as if it's more realistic, I think, than all the Marvel and.
Yeah, it's like if superheroes were narcissistic arseholes. Do you know what I mean?
Well, but I think power does make people like that anyway,
Yeah.
doesn't it? So it's
superheroes if they were actually real.
Yeah,
this is what they'd probably be like.
So it's quite scary in that regard. But game wise, then I've got Barrage again. I'm just looking forward to that coming up. I've got Batoku tomorrow, which is going to be really good. But How about you, Kerley?
So, all right, I'll follow a similar theme and move slightly away from board games. I've been rediscovering my love of an old computer game called Heroes of Might and Magic.
Oh, nice.
So me and my little brother have been going real deep into that at the minute.
Cool.
So yeah, we're loving it. But the board game catch with that one is the fact that we've got an upcoming Kickstarter launching in November, which we've talked about previously, so I won't go into.
Yeah.
But the board game version of that game is coming out.
That'd be good.
Which we played at the Expo, which looked excellent, even though it was in what I would call alpha stage. So it's,
Yeah, we did. I briefly mentioned it in the last podcast as well about the fact that it was coming up. And
so we're looking forward to that. But yeah, apart from that, as far as board game events go, I've got a few. I'm chunking through some old uns but good uns, at the moment. So I won't go into too much.
And we're gonna learn on Mars on Wednesday, aren't we?
Yeah, we're gonna play on Mars on Wednesday, where we've both got half a day. So we're gonna do that. But yeah, apart from that, Lords of Waterdeep, Terraforming Mars, we're playing a lot of the old games at the minute.
We are going back through our catalogue and getting all the classics out, aren't we?
And I like to do that, to be honest. But I'll just, again, we're looking forward to the board gaming marathon in a couple of weeks' time or week and a half's time. So
I'm on holiday, I can't make it.
No, same.
Gutted.
I'm gutted.
Dan did tell me. He did tell me off.
Yeah,
he keeps continuing to tell me off. But what can I do?
Give you a good spanking, JP.
He did. But I said Curly's going, and he's your best friend.
Yeah, apparently.
Your best friend. So that's enough. You don't need more than Curly. But
no, that is true. You don't need more than Curly.
That's true.
It's your big day coming up, though, isn't it? You got a big day coming up?
Oh, what, my birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, my birthday
Happy birthday!
Play some games.
My birthday's only a couple of weeks away, but I mean, I cannot have a birthday board gaming day with the group leader, I want to call you, even though he wouldn't call himself that.
Big Ed.
My captain,
JP, without him being there. So I'm going to wait for him to come back from holiday, and then we're going to do an all-dayer. What did we get down to? August 20...
something.
8th, I think. Yeah, 27th or 28th. We're going to do an all-day...
It's the one before bank holiday, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Going to do an all-day board gaming day. 10, I think it was up to 10 or 12 people come around my house. It's going to be a fantastic day. But yeah, it's my 40th birthday. So there you go.
You old git.
So yeah, instead of going out on the piss, I'm having a board gaming day. I don't care. I'm
Sounds
more than
good.
happy with that.
Sounds like the best thing to do.
Sure, but our listeners will agree. So
If anyone disagrees, they're probably not listening anyway.
Anyone who disagrees, probably not the podcast for you.
Well, sticking with that theme of non-game and game-related. So as you mentioned, I'm going on holiday. So I'm going to France with Rob. He's also obviously on the podcast. So we're going with our respective families for 2 weeks. Cannot wait. Just want to switch off and do the typical things you do in France without me being stereotypical and saying things. I'm not going to say it. Baguettes. No, I'm not going to say that.
baguettes, nice garlic.
Not going to say any of that.
Moulin free?
No, I can't speak French, mate. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And then the same weekend as your birthday weekend, the game I'm actually looking forward to. Obviously, I'm looking forward to your birthday weekend because we'll play lots.
Yes.
But the day before, we've got Twilight Imperium.
Oh.
And
we've got double
bubble. That weekend is going to be gaming heaven. But no, the reason for Twilight Imperium is I've recently got the third codex printed, which adds another faction into the mix.
Who did it in the end? Some guy did it for everyone, didn't he?
Some guy on the Twilight Imperium Facebook group called Cowslap.
Cowslap Fact. Yeah,
Cowslap Fact. I knew he said
organised
milk something, but I knew it was something to do with a cow.
Credit to I know he didn't do it on his own, and he had a group of people kind of helping out, but he kind of coordinated all the requests for all the codexes 1, 2 and 3 and sorted it all out, got it printed and posted it to everybody, and I thought, fantastic. I already had codexes 1, 2. If anyone doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about, which is probably quite a few people, the codexes are like print and play mini expansion modules or card replacements for balance. Just think of it as like
because they do it. They do an
Errata.
update in FAQ, don't they?
Yeah.
And, not FAQ, errata, you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And they essentially just release all that through
Balance
these codecs.
stuff out, which is really good.
Which is quite cool. So I thought I've got all that now. I'm just really excited to play TI because I love.
I think it's the only way that a game from the 80s is still relevant. It's because they keep putting love into it. So
yeah, we've got. I think we've got at least. Now I think we've got 6 players.
Yeah.
Well, we have at the minute. It always gets a bit of fluctuation as we go.
because it's an all-day event. People tend to,
But no, looking forward to getting around the table and making an event of it as always.
Me too, mate.
Yeah. And with that, our final turn is wrapping up, and victory points are to be scored. Thanks for everyone for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and review on your podcast player of choice. If you want to get in contact with the show, on our socials you can email us on players@whoseturn.co.uk. Check out our Facebook page, Whose Turn Is It Anyway Podcast, Instagram page @WhoseTurnPodcast, and TikTok @Whose Turn Is It Anyway. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Stay tuned for what that will be. So until then,
Exciting.
whose turn is it again? Whose turn is it?